I think we've all seen at least one of these videos, a full face of SPF tutorials. They usually include a person by the beach, by the pool, in the hot sun, applying a variety of makeup products that include SPF. It usually starts with a skin tint or a bronzer, concealer, SPF eye makeup, SPF lip care, setting spray, powder. It insinuates that these products not only are multi-purpose, but they're easy to apply and they protect our skin from the sun. If you are someone that is in the beauty and skincare world, you know how important sunscreen is to wear on the everyday. So these videos are very influential. And the thing that really works about these sunscreen makeup application videos is that sunscreen isn't just a trend. Sunscreen is highly recommended by dermatologists to protect our skin's health in the long run. The concept in theory is great, but what I want to help you do is decide if it's actually worth purchasing. So let's talk about the benefits and misconceptions of sunscreen makeup products, what you should look out for before making this purchase, and if there are any products that are worth including in your summer makeup routine. I just want to briefly summarize some of the new sunscreen and makeup products we've been seeing on the market, just to paint a picture of how popular it has become. Starting with the most recent launch by One Size, their new setting spray. It has SPF 28 and is supposed to lock in makeup for up to 16 hours without disrupting what you have underneath. We've also seen quite a few tinted sunscreens this year, including the Merit Uniform. This is supposed to be a lightweight tinted mineral sunscreen with SPF 45. It has a sheer buildable coverage with a natural finish. The Elle Halo Glow Mineral Skin Tint claims to be a light buildable coverage with a dewy finish, plus mineral SPF 50 with no white cast. The CoverGirl Clean Fresh Blurring Skin Tint is a weightless liquid foundation with a soft matte finish in SPF 30. And of course, so many freaking SPF lip products, including the Cali Ray Lip Guard, which is a high shine non-sticky lip gloss that hydrates with SPF 31, the Super Goop Glow Gloss, which is a high shine lip balm with SPF 40, and lastly, the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Tinted Lip Balm with SPF 15. This isn't including what launched last year, and there's also so much more that I'm missing from this list. So sunscreen makeup is currently trending, and I do believe that it's going to continue to trend every single year afterwards, just because SPF is already this thing that's associated with good skin and good skincare. It already has this built-in sense of trust, which makes it really easy to sell. And another major selling point is that it's simply convenient. The idea of wearing sunscreen while also applying makeup sounds like something that is very versatile. It's going to make your mornings a lot easier because you don't have to use a separate product and a makeup product. You can do a whole 2-in-1. We're going to talk about that a little later, about the issue there. I also feel like the shift is caused by the skincare meets makeup marketing tactic. I feel like over the years, especially since lockdown, a lot of us have been focusing more on skincare first, prioritizing skincare and then using makeup as just an enhancement.
This video is how to look pretty with no makeup on.
How to look good with no makeup on from a 40-year-old board certified dermatologist.
I just did this bronzy, no makeup look using only skincare products. These are my best tips to look pretty without makeup.
Especially with the clean girl makeup aesthetic trend, the Hailey Bieber effect of it all. So because the demand was switching over to skincare first, I think makeup brands had to get a little bit more creative in finding a way to market the product to get us to buy makeup again. And the way to do that is to include and emphasize the skincare benefits in a makeup product. And sunscreen makeup is just a continuation of this trend. And just like any product launch, I do think the seasonality of it all being in the summer is just the perfect time for a product like this because many of us are traveling to tropical areas. It's very hot in most places. I'm on the East Coast of the US and it is super freaking hot. And brands are very aware of this, that we are shopping for more sunscreen in the summertime, so of course they're going to try to meet that demand. On top of that, if you are a makeup wearer, reapplying sunscreen is a pain in the butt. No matter what application it is, I've always had issues. I've used a balm sunscreen application, it always picks up. I've also used the spray, and some of those are not made for the face, so they can burn your eyes, or they're just really greasy, or they can just break out your skin. So launching a product that is meant for the face, is marketed as something that can reapply your sunscreen, is just another good selling point. Now, like I said earlier, SPF makeup sounds like a good idea in the grand scheme of things, especially if you are a brand or a business, but there are aspects of it that I think are completely misunderstood and that you should consider before buying the product. The first thing you want to consider is the amount needed to get the protection that's labeled on the bottle. And the second thing you want to consider is how the product is going to be applied to your face. Will you be using a brush? Will you be using your hand? Is it a spray mechanism? And third of all, you want to consider where it's applied to the face. So if it's a skin tint or a foundation, it's likely going to be applied all over the face, but if it's a bronzer, a concealer, or a blush, you'll likely only put it in select areas of the face. And the last thing you want to consider is when the product expires. I did make this mistake recently, but we are going to talk about it a little bit later. Now, according to the FDA testing standards, the requirement for applying sunscreen to test subjects is 2 milligrams of product per square centimeter of skin, and they are also required to wait at least 15 minutes after applying before UV exposure. And just to paint a picture of how much you actually need, a lot of dermatologists recommend you to take like 1/4 teaspoon of product, and that's how much you're going to need for your face, your neck, and your ears.
Teaspoon, 2 finger, 3 fingers. Just how much sunscreen should you be applying? Let's review. Gloria and I have done all the testing, and ultimately, a 1/4 teaspoon for face and neck is probably the most accurate of the 3.
Now, I have seen a lot of sunscreen application videos when it comes to liquid products, including foundations and skin tints, but I haven't seen a lot of videos talking about the application of setting sprays or powders, but these are the ones that I found online so far.
This test shows an SPF 45 powder giving great coverage. That means it's not a good test for SPF. The way the brand got this SPF 45 label is a lab measured the real protection of the powder on actual skin at 2 milligrams per square centimeter. That translates to around this much powder. She didn't apply anywhere near this much, so she's getting way lower than SPF 45. There are lots of microscopic holes that the UV is getting through that we just can't see in this video. But in the proper SPF test, the UV got through and burned the volunteer's skin, even when it was caked on. Also, this $65 US brush only has 3 or 4 full face applications. That's like $20 an application.
Board certified dermatologist, spring is here, summer is on its way. So when we apply our sunscreen, we want a nice even coat of protection. This is UV photography, and clearly something is different between the two sides of my face. Sunscreen mists and sprays are more popular than ever. So I decided to put a mist to the test on one side of my face, applied it the way most people do. They don't rub it in afterwards. Then I used a cream on the other side, and then I used the Nexus system to evaluate what was going on. The way that UV photography works is that if you see that nice even layer of protection, that opaque layer, that actually signifies really nice even protection, which is from the cream, whereas here you're seeing a splotchy application from the spray. Does that mean these mists and sprays are inherently bad? Absolutely not. How do I use them? First of all, I use them to reapply throughout the day. So I like to have that nice even layer as my base coat and then reapply using the spray. And if you're using the spray, ideally what you want to do is spray more than you think you need and then rub it in, which nobody does.
I also want to note that a lot of this information is actually on the makeup product themselves. Right here I have a Ciele box, which is a brand known for sunscreen and makeup, and it literally says apply liberally 15 minutes before sun exposure, reapply, use a water resistant sunscreen if swimming or sweating, so it's recommending to use it with another sunscreen, and reapply at least every 2 hours. And then it also says on the box, spending time in the sun increases your risk of skin cancer and early skin aging. To decrease the this risk, regularly use sunscreen with a broad spectrum SPF value of 15 or higher and other sun protection measures. At a quick glance, this doesn't say how much you need of the powder to get the sunscreen protection, but it is recommending to wear it with other sunscreens. Now, as for the skin tint, let's see. Nope, it says about the same thing. But I did recently buy the one size SPF setting spray, and on here it does tell you how much you need to use, I think. Wait, am I going crazy? I literally thought I saw it. Under uses, it says helps prevent sunburn if used as directed with other sun protection measures. See directions. But it looks like each of these boxes have the same kind of directions and or drug facts on the back of them. The same wording, which I think is legally required for them to include on all sun products. The only thing I'm not seeing is the amount you need to apply. It's not saying you need 1/4 a teaspoon or anything like that. They all simply just say that you should be using it with other sunscreen products, especially if you are swimming. And let's be real, I know a lot of us aren't actually wearing the necessary amount of sunscreen that is required to get the protection that we need, especially if you are using a product like an SPF blush, bronzer, or I don't know, concealer. Those are being applied to very specific areas of your face, which means the rest of your face is not protected. So you 100% need to put sunscreen underneath and cannot depend on these products alone. Now, another issue with these SPF products, especially for lips, is they tend to have an SPF scent or taste to them. So if you are going to buy an SPF lip product, just do a little research before you buy it blindly at the store. And to make things even worse, SPF products expire. Not only do they expire, but they expire pretty soon, at least the products that I recently bought. FDA regulations require all non-prescription drugs to have an expiration date unless the manufacturer's stability testing has shown that the product will remain stable for at least 3 years. This means a sunscreen product that doesn't have an expiration date should be considered expired 3 years after purchase. The FDA also recommends not to use sunscreen products that have passed their expiration date, if there is one. Do not use sunscreen products that have no expiration date and were not purchased within the last 3 years. This one was really interesting to me. It says discard expired sunscreens because they may not be safe and effective anymore. If you do not know how old your sunscreen is, discard it. So I recently purchased some sunscreen and makeup products because I wanted to do some research for this video, and I soon realized when I got home that they expire very soon. The Ciele skin tint that I bought, it expires February 2026, which isn't terrible. The powder that I bought from Ciele expires on December 2025. That's like 5 to 6 months from now. This one lasts a little bit longer. This expires March 2027. The one that I was most disappointed in was the powder, because if you have makeup and you rotate through makeup, you know how long it takes to finish a powder. So in theory, if I wanted to get my money's worth and use up as much of these products as possible and get the maximum amount of SPF protection, I need to be using it every single day. But that's not going to happen because obviously I am a beauty content creator and I do rotate through multiple products. So it's going to be great for the summer, but it's going to expire by next summer, unfortunately. And I know that there are people out there that do not give two craps about an expiration date. Y'all are going to use makeup whether it's expired or not. However, the FDA did suggest that it's might not be safe to use it after the expiration date. And if you do decide to use it after the expiration date, the sunscreen protection likely will not work. So you might have spent $40–50 on an SPF skin tint and you can only get half of the benefits, which I don't think is the best value. It also doesn't help that SPF makeup products usually have a higher markup than regular makeup products. Just compare the normal one size setting spray to the sunscreen one size setting spray. And with all of that in mind, I don't think it's a complete waste of money depending on the expiration date and which products you choose to buy. The CDC also recommends that you reapply sunscreen every 2 hours, especially if you are outdoors or swimming, to have the benefit of a makeup product with sunscreen does make this easier to an extent. So for example, the one size has SPF 28. I've been wearing the sunscreen for over 2 hours and I could just easily reapply it to my face. So in my opinion, I think that top priority to get the most sunscreen protection is just going to be that base layer of sunscreen. My current favorite one is the Beauty of Joseon. This is a classic lightweight chemical sunscreen. It has SPF 50. It's hydrating on the skin, thin, looks great under makeup, and because it's so lightweight, it's so easy to make sure I apply on the right amount without feeling heavy on the skin, and also it doesn't leave a white cast. It's not greasy, which is really nice. And then you would just consider the other sunscreen makeup products as a nice to have, but not a must have. So if you are going to splurge on an SPF makeup product, I would probably recommend kind of like the base layers that is going to be applied all over the face. But when it comes to SPF bronzer, SPF blush, SPF concealer, I really don't think that's necessary at all, and those products take forever to finish and they will probably expire a lot sooner than your sunscreen itself. And if you are someone like me who neglects sunscreen protection on your lips, it is probably beneficial to buy an SPF lip balm, and you can buy a cheap one at the drugstore or you can splurge on one at Sephora and Ulta. Completely up to you. With all of that in mind, I thought I would chat about some of the SPF makeup products that I've been trying lately, the ones that I would recommend, the ones that I'm unsure about, so that you can make your own decisions on if it's worth it to you. Recently, I bought the Ciele Tint and Protect. This has SPF 50. It is a mineral SPF, non-comedogenic, and I have the shade 08 Medium Honey because your girl's getting a little tan in the summer. I've heard such incredible things about this product. I heard it gives really great coverage, it's lightweight, it has sunscreen, obviously, and I had really high hopes for it. It does feel very thin. It blends onto the skin easily. It has a slight bit of sheen and glow to it, so if you're really into that glowy effect, that's what you're going to get from this. And I do feel like it gives a good amount of coverage for how thin it is. It reminds me a lot of the L'Oreal tinted serum, but I don't believe that one has SPF in it. The formula is very similar, except I do think this is thinner, and the coverage buildup on this is insane. Like, you could do a thin layer and it would give you pretty decent coverage, and then you apply more and you'll get full coverage. Now, the only issue I have with this product is more personal because I have oily skin and I have large pores. I think because it has that more wet, glowy finish to it, it does enhance my pores. And powder can only hide so much because over time, my oils and my skin will start peeking through the powder, but the formula itself is incredibly great. Then I have the Ciele Filter and Protect SPF 30 powder. I initially bought this because I thought it would be great for sunscreen reapplication, but then I realized that this is a loose powder and I'm not putting this in my bag. It's messy and it is not fun to reapply with, so keep that in mind if you're thinking about getting a powder for reapplication. The Supergoop is probably a better mechanism for reapplication, but I will say the actual powder itself, the formula, is so... honestly, it reminds me a lot of the Huda Beauty texture. I have the shade in 02. There's only 2 shades, unfortunately, so that's another thing to consider. You might not have a shade in the tinted serum or the powder, but because this has zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, this is going to be a very kind of whitening powder. Like, I wouldn't recommend this at night where you're going to take flash photography. If you apply too much, it's going to look very, very cakey, so you want to be careful with this. I wouldn't recommend to bake with it at all. I did not like the way my skin looked while baking with this, and that's kind of unfortunate because, again, you need a specific amount, so it kind of defeats the whole purpose if you're buying this for SPF protection. Again, it's better than nothing, but it's also not as good as just wearing sunscreen. I personally really like the new One Size sunscreen setting spray because I haven't found a sunscreen setting spray that actually doesn't burn my eyes and doesn't make me look like a grease ball, so this one really works for me. Of course, the downside is that it's only SPF 28 and you definitely cannot wear this alone. On top of that, because of the spray bottle, it's only applying a very thin amount, so you're not gonna get a lot of protection out of this, but to me, this is better than not reapplying it at all, so I really like this. The only warning I have is that the scent is so freaking strong. It smells like hairspray and like a tropical mix to it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just very strong. A couple of other products I've been looking into but just haven't bit the bullet to buy yet are the Sunscreen lip balm glosses. I mentioned a few of them earlier in the video and I am interested in buying and trying one of them. I'm just not sure which direction I want to go into. I have swatched the Cali Ray on my hand. I saw that in store and it looked absolutely gorgeous and incredible. I also swatched the Iris and Romeo in store and that one was a lot more pigmented, but there was a limited shade range. And then I believe Naturium also came out with an SPF a lip balm that I heard was really good, and I'm leaning more towards that direction. So if you have a recommendation, let me know in the comments below. Another SPF product that I have been using for a couple of years now, I did a sponsorship with them on TikTok, I think last year or so, and I'm pretty sure this is expired. Is this expired? Oh, it's not. The It Cosmetics CC Natural Matte expired December 2025 and I'm pretty sure I got this last year, either in January or maybe this year in January. I really can't remember, but this is going to give you full coverage. It has SPF 40 if you use the right amount. This is always the product I recommend if you have acne prone skin, especially if you get cystic acne. The only downside about this is the shade range. The undertones are kind of iffy, so I would highly recommend just going into the store to see if they have a shade for you. I especially love the natural matte version because that's just the finish I prefer. The OG version is much glowier and much more wet on the skin, but because this is matte, it doesn't enhance your pores as much, especially compared to something like the Ciele Skin Tint. So depending on your wants and needs, I do think some sunscreen makeup products are worth the splurge if they're treated as an add-on to your beauty routine and not a replacement for sunscreen. And I think that there are other products that you can completely skip, especially if they're only going to be applied to specific parts of your face or going to expire before you can finish it. And let me know if there are any sunscreen makeup products that you absolutely love or think that I should avoid, because I would like to know that as well. Thank you for all of the support and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!